Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers, and welcome back. So we're here today on a glorious sunny Sunday morning, and we're going to be trying out a breakfast here at Tong Garden Centre. Never been here before, so we're going to be seeing how this one stacks up against some of the other places we've done so far. Let's go. So yes, I'm here in Bloom's kitchen today at Tong Garden Centre, and I'm going to be treating my teenage lad to a full English breakfast. Now I know what you're thinking, garden centres might not scream greasy spoon heaven, but trust me, I've had a few cracking ones in the strangest of places, so let's see how this one stacks up. We've both gone for their large breakfast, which includes 2 pork sausages, 2 rashers of bacon, 2 fried eggs, 1 hash brown, grilled tomato, mushrooms and baked beans. A solid lineup then, at least on paper. Now, fried bread is available as an optional extra for £1.79, and we weren't about to skip that, so we've added it. There's also an option for 2 slices of toasted bloomer bread, priced at £2.69, but we didn't opt in for that, although I admit that was down to me. I mistakenly thought it was included and only realised after ordering. One of them classic dad moments. Oh, and crucially, there's no option for black pudding here either. That's an automatic point deduction when we tally up at the end. Let's get tucked in. That's great. Thank you very much. Cheers. Starting with the presentation then, and it's got that familiar look. The beans sit proudly in the centre ramekin, surrounded by the rest of the breakfast items in a neat circular arrangement. But things get a bit awkward up top. The fried bread is perched on top of the tomato, which in turn is on the bacon, like some kind of breakfast Jenga. It's tidy, sure, but there's no particular eye-catching going on here. No wow factor. Score 6 out of 10. On to the mushrooms. And I've got to say, these were a bit better than expected. They were served in halves, not thin slices, which gave them a bit more bite. Flavour-wise, they were decent, though just a tad on the watery side. That bit of added pepper definitely helped lift them. Could have done with being cooked off just a touch longer to reduce that excess moisture. Score 7 out of 10. Now let's talk eggs. Visually, not the best on my plate, bit oily, and mine were floating about in a shallow puddle of water from the mushrooms, which wasn't ideal. That said, the yolks were soft and runny, perfect for dunking into with that golden fried bread. Looking over at my lad's plate, his eggs did look a fair bit better than mine though, so some inconsistencies between the plates here. Score 6 out of 10. Right then, let's move on to the fried bread, which we added as an extra. It's golden, hot and crispy, and a nice thick slice too. It's crunchy on the outside, not overly oily. That's a win in my book. It soaked up that egg yolk beautifully and held its own without going soggy. Still, it was an added extra, and at £1.79, you'd hope it delivered. Thankfully, it did to some degree. Score 6 out of 10. Beans. We're back in that ramekin club, and I'm all for it. Keeps everything tidy and lets me control where those bean juices flow. These are rich, thick in sauce, and tasted like proper branded beans. In fact, we had a full-on debate at the table about it, and we did settle on Heinz beans in the end. You can usually tell. Solid showing here, nothing fancy, just dependable and tasty. Score 7 out of 10. Onto this tomato then, a grilled half, piping hot and juicy, bursting with flavour when you bite into it, but that's about it. No bells or whistles, just a bog standard tomato done well, but lacking that little flair to push it higher. Score 5 out of 10. Hash browns now, or should I say hash brown. There's only one on the plate, which already feels a bit stingy on a large breakfast. Texture-wise, the outside was crispy, but inside, a bit of a letdown. Dry, with not much potato filling and barely any seasoning to bring it to life. It ended up being the loneliest thing on the plate, both in flavour and in spirit. Score 3 out of 10. Thankfully, things perked up a bit when we got to the sausages, and after that disappointing hash brown, we were more than ready for something with a bit of flavour. These sausages were meaty, thick and packed with herby flavour. A real punch of seasoning that danced across the tongue. Not your usual bland catering links. They were just a touch dry inside, but overall, the taste made up for it. Definitely the standout element of the plate. Score 8 out of 10. Now, after being pleasantly surprised by the sausage, I had my hopes up for the bacon, but sadly, it didn't quite follow suit. It looked alright, with some nice marbling, but looks can be deceiving, as we've noted previously. The rashers were thin, a bit dry, and despite sitting in a pool of grease, they somehow managed to lack flavour, even in the fattier bits. It left us both with a bit of a flat palate. Disappointing, especially when compared to the quality of the sausages. Score 3 out of 10. Right then, on to value for money. Let's talk about where this hits the hardest. the wallet. Because once you add it all up, the numbers don't quite match the experience on the plate. At $10.99 for the base large breakfast, and then the extras like fried bread, toast and drinks on top, this starts to look like a premium price, but not necessarily a premium experience. With only the sausages truly shining and several underwhelming elements, you get the sense you're paying for the setting more than the plate. Don't get me wrong, Tong Garden Centre is a great venue, especially on a sunny Sunday morning, but we're here to judge breakfasts, not browse begonias. In the end, it just didn't feel like we got our money's worth, especially when other spots deliver better brekkies at a lower price point. Score, 3 out of 10. On to the missing items then. So black pudding, there's no option to add that at all. That's an easy 1 point deduction off the final total. Adding everything up for the total point score then, we finish on a total of 53 out of a maximum of 100 points. So then, with a quick conversion and no need to dust off her abacus, that gives Tong Garden Centre's Bloom's Kitchen a final Breakfast Club score of 53%. That score lands firmly in the middle of the pack, and for the second week running, no change on the leaderboard. The Hungry Horse just manages to cling on to 10th place, while Idle Bakery and Café continues to sit smugly at the very top. If you've had a better breakfast at Tong, or think we missed a trick by not ordering the Bloomer toast, let us know down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button if you've enjoyed the review, and subscribe if you're not already part of the club. And if you fancy chatting all things brekkie with fellow food lovers, head over and join us in the Full English Breakfast Club Facebook group, the ideal place for sharing your own Full English photos and experiences. We'll see you next time for another Full English adventure. Till then, keep your yolks runny and your bean juice off your toast. So that was our review of Tong Garden Centre here today. I hope you enjoyed that. We enjoyed some certain elements of that breakfast. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.